Did you ever hear of a zombie scrum? It's basically when your team has adopted agile practices, but there's no real life in them. Some team members might even question the purpose of all these agile ceremonies. One symptom of that could also be that you are experiencing retrospective fatigue, so team members are not really participating in the retro. The obvious way to tackle this, of course, is having varied retrospective templates, and that's why you are here, because a good retrospective template can even activate introverted team members and so on. At Ecometer, we analyzed tens of thousands of retrospectives from our retrospective tool, and I built a little list, which is kind of subjective, obviously, but also data-based. So let's jump right into it. As you can see, I actually want to build a little tier list, like a ranking of retro ideas, starting with the battery retro. You might know it. So basically, we are using a battery metaphor to ask 4 retro questions, starting with basically what's your battery level, what's draining your battery, what's recharging it, and what could help you save energy in the future. What I like about this is that everyone can reply to this, everyone understands this metaphor. This always triggers really interesting insights into people's minds, like status quo, which is, activating introverted team members and so on, which is really good. And this last question helps to have good ideas for action items, which is also really nice. And at last, why I like this is the ROTI score, the return on time invest score of this retro, looking at the many retrospectives that have been done in our tool, is 8.4 on a scale from 1 to 10. So 8.4 is really good, definitely above average. So in the end, I would put this into the A tier, which is really good. Nice. Okay, let's see. What's the next one? It's the team morale health check. So in this case, it's a health check, which means that we have, in this case, 6 different questions talking about different things of morale in the team. For example, there's a trusting working atmosphere in our team, or talking about meetings. It helps you to reflect these different things by simply giving these sentences, and then people on a scale from 1 to 7, or simply like giving a thumbs up or thumbs down, react to this, and then you discuss these things. So that's the idea of the health check, in this case focusing on morale. It's the 6th most used retro idea in Ecometer, which says something, which is like a really good sign. If you want to talk about morale, this would definitely help you a lot. So I would highly recommend it. Given that it doesn't have open questions, I would put it in the B tier. Let's see, what is the next one? Oh yeah, the CEO retro. So the CEO retro, basically, let's see where it is. Right here, uses an acronym like CEO, and it's helping opinionated people to give their opinion, because we simply say, hey, imagine you are the CEO, what would you do in our case? 3 different questions, you can see them here. Similar to others, it's basically using an acronym, but some people don't like it because, it's basically having this hierarchical thought behind it, which is also the reason why I don't like it that much. But still, it might trigger some interesting discussions in teams. So it's still worth it to mention it. I would put it in the F tier. Let's see what's the next one. The bowling retro. Yeah, in this case, we are using the bowling metaphor, bowling sports, and we're having 4 questions. I like this one a little more because it has, all the different options that there are. Using this metaphor, like a strike or what's a split. I would definitely recommend it for teams that know bowling, that know how it works, and that are maybe even like bowling. Then it's perfect. But if you don't like it, then it's not perfect, obviously. So that's the reason why I also would put it rather in the F tier. Okay, so which one is the next retro idea? Yes, it is the 5 agile values health check. So you might know the 5 Scrum values: courage, focus, commitment, respect, openness. Something that any team can definitely reflect. And in our case, we recommend, again, to do a health check. Basically, we have 5 different sentences that same principle. You would ask the team, and then they would give feedback in whatever way you want, like they can agree, disagree, or just give a number or something. For example, I like this one. We value people showing courage. Very simple. And the other one also go in different directions, as you are seeing here. So definitely recommend it. In the end, might be more interesting than the team morale health check, because it's a little wider than this one. But still, it depends on the context of your team, of course. Okay, the next one is the agile delivery retro. Yeah, that is a nice one. But before I continue with that one, very quickly, a few honorable mentions, especially the Sailboat retrospective. If you haven't done it, I would definitely check it out. In the retrospective ideas that you're using metaphors, it's actually the most used retrospective idea at Ecometer, so definitely worth to have a look at it. And then what's also interesting, we are seeing that seasonal retrospective templates, for example, like Easter retrospective, Christmas retrospective template, or the Halloween retrospective, these are always having really high ROTI scores, so really good high return on time investment. So if you haven't done those, I would recommend to at least try them. We also have a few templates actually in our tool. Okay, let's continue with the retrospective idea that I will put in the best category of all. Why am I doing that? Okay, let's see. The Agile Delivery Retro. So what we are doing here is basically on a factual level, try to reflect how we work together. On the one hand, we are having a few open questions, basically reflecting how we work together. And always, of course, having like positive, negative questions. Plus, we also have some health check questions. For example, we limit our work in progress. So giving a few tips or things that you can reflect with your team, which helps to reflect the whole flow of the team. That's what I love about this. The only disadvantage I see is that it's not that creative and rather, very factual driven, focusing on reflecting the flow. Still, it's the only one that I put in this tier because usually teams, a good retrospective doesn't have to be fun, honestly. It has to just trigger talking about the elephant in the room. And usually this retrospective idea does so. Okay, let's see. What's the next one? The Spotify health check. Yeah, you could call it the father of all the health checks because it's very popular. They have different categories. So you can do like on team level, organizational, delivery or tech level, and it helps to reflect these different things. See, for example, on tech level, the quality of your code is something that you would reflect. On the delivery level, you would focus on the way you work together and so on. Feel free to just check it out in our tool, how this looks. And it's similar to the other ones. So it just depends on the current challenges that you have, and then depending on that you should choose which one you do. What's the next one? The astronauts retrospective. In this case, basically we are using a space metaphor. We are an astronaut, and we have 4 questions that also go in different directions. What I like about this is that it's quite simple questions that also usually everyone understands. For example, weight is what is currently very easy for us, where do we need support and so on. Why it's not perfect, I would say, is that it doesn't fit all contexts of all teams. If you would build a rocket, then it would be the perfect metaphor, but for the given reasons, I would still put it into the D tier. Okay, what is the next retro idea? It's the keep, stop, start retrospective idea. This is the most used retrospective idea, and I don't like it that much. Why? I will tell you in a second. Just 2 things. Firstly, in any retrospective, you should make sure to have like action item tracking. You should talk about the action items that you put down in the next retrospective, which is something many people miss. And the other thing is, if you are serious about developing your team, you should do these health check retros because over time you'll be able to see how your team develops. And this is data that you can use, to impress your boss and your colleagues and so on, to just professionalize your work. That are general tips. Obviously, our tool Ecomedia can help you with this. But now I can continue with the keep, stop, start retro. So just to show you this again, the questions are obviously what should we keep doing, stop doing, what should we start doing. And I don't like this question because usually when I ask what should we stop doing, people reply nothing. That is a reply that we very often see actually, because it's hard to criticize the team and the system. It's easier to criticize something else, I will tell you in a second. But for this reason, I would give it like a C ranking actually, because it doesn't work. It doesn't deserve its popularity, in my opinion. A better retrospective idea is this one. Drive and drag is also, some people know it. Let's see. So we are using a car metaphor here. So what has been driving you lately? What has been slowing you down lately? What I like about this is that it's not talking about the system or the team, but it's about me, myself. And it's way easier to indirectly criticize myself than the team. So this triggers way more feedback usually than the keep, stop, start retro. On the other hand, it of course only has 2 questions, and I like to have more questions. So this is something that I would recommend for a short retrospective, but still I would see it on a similar level to the keep, stop, start retro in the end. And that was it already. I think we are through with all the 10 ideas. One last hint, of course, it makes sense to combine these retro ideas with check-ins or icebreakers at the beginning of the retro. For example, this one would work well with the car check-in that I just showed. But you can, of course, also just ask open questions in the icebreaker, depending on your team. It really always depends on your team, on the maturity and what your team likes. This is a general obvious hint, I guess. And we link everything below down this video, so feel free to check all these resources out. Have fun and looking forward to hear your feedback in the comments.